Hello there, it's Raphael Simon with Simon Electric back at you with a good one. We got a 72 unit condo building that had a burnt up meter bank. Some of you might have seen live where we were here the day of the fire. You can go watch that now if you'd like to go to our channel to get a little bit of background. But anyway, we're here working on this and getting all the new meter bank installed. We finally got all the parts. Took forever to get them all in stock. Some had to be made at the factory and sent from outside the country. It took forever to get everything, about 3 weeks. But we're here now, we're installing it all. Let's check it out. A couple sections of this meter bank that make up about 18 meters got smoked in this situation. The first step in this project is remove the damaged sections so that the unaffected areas can be re-energized. There's about 54 condos or meters that are unaffected. Once we remove the damaged section, those can be re-energized after a power release inspection. We're also labeling all the damaged meters so we know which apartment went with which meter, so somebody doesn't end up paying the wrong bill. Now, some of the meters completely melted down and they're just gone. Here's what it looked like the day of the fire. I recommend replacing all of them, but definitely the vaporized ones, because they're not going to work again.
Take it off?
Yeah, I mean, I tried for a couple hours, but the one good, we could take it all off as one whole piece is put together.
This, right?
But yeah, but it's going to be real heavy then. I was hoping to be able to get that apart. So it'll rip right through. You got to be careful. So here's the thing. I don't know. Oh, well, look at the 90s down there. See the 90s, the bend of the 90s? You can see which way they go for this bank. We're going to be putting some tap cons in the ground and we don't want to hit the pipe. So anyway, I don't know if so if you look here, I already busted off, snapped off. I did only these couple here. And so that will come right off. I just went around the flathead and chipped them down. So that might be easier to take it all off right now. I don't know though. But we might want to wait because we don't know what the gutter at.
And then it's going all the way. So I know one thing is we do it here, all of these gonna have to be there too.
Yeah, we're gonna have to cut them all the same height.
Yeah.
Now, do we want to drop it down though? Is the question. I'm saying because it would be much nicer if when we're finished, if the gutters could just use little offset nipples or straight nipples right into the bottom of our thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because that'll make it so much faster to just set it on. So if we get it at just the right height.
Just pop out.
Yep.
Not the holes on the set.
Yeah.
How tall is this? The norm yet?
I have to check. They're a little shorter than these, I think.
That's perfect.
Yeah, because
Use this then.
I mean, whether we have to lengthen it or well, we really need to shorten it because this wire, we got to get good wire. We're talking about where to locate the gutter, and what I mean when I say get to good wire is because a lot of the conductors are melted inside this meter bank, so we have to drop it down where the pipe protected the conductors so that we get to good wire. It turns, but it feels like it's something, don't it?
Yeah. This is moving.
But I put my fingers back there while I was turning it, and I couldn't feel nothing move back there. Here, I'll help you turn it. I use my impact. I literally ran my impact on it for a minute. Nothing. I broke it free with that ratchet first.
That's crazy though.
Yeah, I was here a few days before this, making a layout and ordering parts and stuff. I tried breaking this free so I could open up this bus bar, and it wouldn't come loose. I'm pretty sure it's stripped out in the back, unfortunately, because that's right where it shorted out. Luckily, the bus bar in the 1200 amp main breaker cabinet was in much better condition. But I'll show you that in a minute. For now, let's see what we can do about getting this 8 gang and 10 gang meter bank separated so we can get them off the wall. In order to do that, we have to force this bus bar pack back inside the 10 gang meter bank. And there's the last little bit. And now that we got that part done, we have to chip off the rest of these PVC box adapters so we can disconnect the 1.5-inch conduits from the bottom of the meter banks and start the removal off the wall. You see, if these were standard male adapters, we could just loosen the lock washer and lift it off, but because they're box adapters, they're glued in. Box adapters do have their benefits though. They make a lot more room inside the cabinet for wires to have more space
so they are good for a lot of reasons. I end up using them later in the video. Not only do we label each meter, but we label each set of conductors that goes to each condo. That way for future reference, we know which one goes where. The only drawback is all the apartments are numbered in Sharpie marker. You can see it on some of those cabinets right there. But when the fire happened, it burned off a bunch of those numbers. So there's a little bit of guesswork involved that we have to verify later.
I'm gonna take that color off too. Well, maybe leave it because that one had the clearance. Yeah, we don't want to not know about it. All right, close that. Yeah, so try to lift it up, give it a little bit of slack between the male adapter and the wire. So like this much room, and then set that end on the ground, and then we'll be able to walk it off. Look at that. That's a packet that you bolt them together with.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, let her all the way down. Is there any wires binding?
No.
They all got a little room?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, don't.
We got you.
We got you.
Just make sure, just help them out.
Keep pulling out little by little.
A few of the couplings did crack when we were doing this, but it did help us out later. It didn't break anything below the slab though, so we got lucky there.
Okay. Just take your time. You can hold it, it's not that heavy. Alright, just set it down right here, set the bottom down. Okay. Okay. I'll give it right back to you.
Probably my bike, man. Can you open it?
Nah, is he gonna go outside the door?
Well, we're gonna keep it. Well, we're gonna keep it out there for now, but we're gonna keep it in here
Oh, okay.
because all the burnt stuff has to stay until they look at it.
Now that the damaged 8 gang is removed, it's the same thing for the 10 gang. Inside this 10 gang meter bank was where the majority of the damage was though.
It's like first cousin. Y'all created something.
As I said before, the main goal here is to re-energize the bulk of these 54 remaining meters, and as soon as we get this damaged 10 gang off the wall and capped off, we'll do that.
That's all. Oh.
Belt. Something. Or the nut. It was the
It
nut.
fell down.
So once we get this off, we have a power release inspection showing that we've had the damaged sections removed, and FPL will come and re-energize the building.
You want dice?
Okay. That's good one. Take your time.
We're just trying to keep this main breaker cover on as much as possible. We don't want anything to hit the main breaker and damage it. This 10 gang feels about twice as heavy as the 8 gang. I know it's only 2 more meters, but it's way heavier. The eagle-eyed among you will notice the red light on the meter on the top right there. There's actually one phase that's still coming into the building, but it's only going to the 36 meters that are closest to the door. The 18 meters that are all the way in the back right here, and the 18 that we're finishing up removal right now, those are de-energized.
that's falling off the bit. Should we just set it on this ladder, guys?
You can see how charred that box is. That means the back of this cabinet got pretty much red hot.
Careful, careful. We're gonna knock it off the ladder it's on. Just set it on the ground. Just set the bottom on the ground right there. Nice work, gentlemen.
Post the interview. I mean, the fourth quarter was crazy. We was able to make stops, but we got it good.
So I need where I have to push that back. Flat. Right here, left. And just pull out on it a little bit, like that.
The nut that holds this bus bar pack intact came off the rail a little bit in the back there, but I'm putting it back in place now. Goes together pretty easily.
Okay, perfect. Good. Good. Perfect.
Right here, I'm just wiping off all the soot and dust that's on the bus bar pack. I'll do a much more
Do you have
thorough
any other
cleaning job
rags or
later.
anything?
For now, my main goal is just get this capped off so we can re-energize the remaining legs of the building and get everybody that can get power back up and running ASAP. And by the way, I got this cap off the end of the 8-gang burnt up meter bank. It's not like I have one of these laying around.
Yeah, when we were close by the door, you could smell all that burning.
See if we can hear this one.
I ain't had nothing, man.
I'm just messing with Bernard right here. My multimeter makes a much louder tone than his does, although his multimeter is probably a little higher quality than mine. Right now, I'm just confirming there's no continuity on either leg to each other or ground. And I'm doing that because after the building department inspects and then FPL re-energizes, I know there won't be any loud explosions.
Good to go.
The sheet was back in the
Well, even a modern one is that heavy. Of
Yeah?
This type of switch, yeah. Look at the switch while we're putting it on.
Missing a bit, bro.
What?
It's the next day, we passed our inspection, everybody that could get power got power, and on top of that, all the parts have arrived for installation, so pretty soon we'll have the entire building up and running, barring any unforeseen events. The part Bernard's holding right now is the transition piece. That definitely took the most amount of time to come in. It was manufactured in Mexico and sent to us. It goes from the old EZM squared EQO to the new EZM system. And we're also confirming the layout that's currently only in my brain will actually work on the wall. And on top of that, we're going to have to add additional wall space because the transition piece and the new banks are a little bit wider than what was there before.
Yeah, those are the Defcons.
The wall stretcher's on back order, so we'll have to come up with a different solution, but we'll work that out later.
We have to de-energize this before I want to yank that cover off. Then we got to clean that bus bar. I mean, I already cleaned it once and it wasn't bad, but I just want to make sure it's super clean before we put them together. So we need to find a grinder. We need to open the 5-gang because I want to. The reason why I did that is I want to know where this 5-gang is going to go, so we know our heights of our pipes. start cutting our pipes.
We already opened up the two 4-gang meter banks. You can see them there in the background. Now we're opening up the 5 gangs. I wanted to put the 5 gangs closer to the main breaker because they're all the same bus bar strength of 800 amps, which 800 amps goes to the right bank and 800 amps goes to the left bank. Although not necessary, I just always thought it made more sense to put the higher load closer. Right here is where I noticed it's the wrong part number that was delivered. As soon as I set them down, I noticed that it was the ring type meter bank, and we can't have those here in Florida. You can tell I'm pretty pissed. The two 4 gangs are okay, but the two 5 gangs were the wrong ones and will not work. You might notice that every other meter bank in this meter room here has ring type meter can, but they're the old ones. The new ones cannot be installed if they're ring type. It's a policy of FPL, and there is a safety risk involved, so we're just going to do what needs to be done and order the correct ones and get them rushed in. But in the meanwhile, we're going to keep working and install the two 4-gang meter banks that we do have, and they'll end up being the closer ones to the main breaker, which I wanted to put the 5 gangs there, but it is what it is. We're going to rush the two 5 gangs in, and hopefully they'll be here within a few days. Which at this point in the job, we were told by a different manufacturer or supply house that they would be there in a few days if we rushed them, which is record timing considering how long the other meter banks took to get in. What you see me doing right here is using a pipe chain cutter to cut down all the conduits to the same height where the gutter is going to end up being, which kills 2 birds with 1 stone. One, it gives us enough room for our gutter, which is going to make it a lot nicer, and it cuts the pipes down lower because almost all the conductors that came inside the 10-gang meter bank were melted. So dropping it down like that gets us into good wire, which is about 8 inches of good wire that ends up inside the gutter. And right here, Victor's cutting the first section of gutter to be installed. Then we got all rained out and had to relocate the gutter cutting procedure.
Oh. That shit don't explode.
Something tells me this grinder's ground its last and it ain't gonna make it.
No, I just...
Nah,
And
it's
the
a
blade's
big
bad. I know, but... Brand new. It's only been used twice.
But then, just in the nick of time, the trusty Sawzall came to the rescue.
Which one need it? They're the same. Well, this one's a little bigger. Well, if we... Yeah, maybe we're going to have to cut another one.
Some of the cuts along the back required a wire saw to cut it, and then we nipped the front side off with the buzzsaw multi-tool. Right here, Dominic and Victor are assembling the first sections of gutter. Against the wall there, you see one of the 5-gang meter banks that's no good because it's a ring type. The 4-gang behind Victor's okay because it's a ringless. Just to be clear, for those of you that don't know, the difference is the stainless steel ring that holds the meter in the meter can. You'll see later in the video that the door holds the meter in on the ones that we install and not a stainless steel ring around the outside. Right here, we're just double checking to make sure the gutter's going to fit perfectly and put the templates in so we can cut the knockout holes in just the right spots. Right here, Bernard's just making holes at each of the marks on the template so that the holes will line up perfectly when we're done.
No, there'll be just deviation.
5/8. Anything in 5/8.
You keep doing it, don't you?
What?
So you measure
Yeah.
on both sides? At the wall and then out it.
Measured out from the wall and
Yes, and then measure back at the wall the same thing and see what the difference is.
On the wall, I just
Shake it out.
While me and Victor put all the holes in the bottom of the gutter, we're going to start cutting the unistrut so we can mount all the meter banks that won't fit on the existing wall.
What's that? Scratch? Is the tooth messed up? It is? Okay. The tooth is okay?
Yeah.
Okay. What's that?
hole is 7. And then this is the 16. 1/16. Isn't that?
We're installing PVC couplings right here on top of all the cut conduits so we can put the gutter right on top with the box connectors. Right here we're just using the laser so that the unistrut rack that we mount the other meter banks to will end up perfectly plumb and straight. Now that we set the gutter directly on top of all the conduits, we can use the PVC glue-on box adapters. And this way we don't have a thread-on male adapter taking up a bunch of room inside the gutter, and it leaves a lot more room for the wire.
Well, we gotta glue it. Hang on, we gotta glue it.
I glued it.
12, and 12, so 36.
And while they finish up the gutter, I'm going to do a little more layout for the unistrut rack.
We'll set it on the bucket, but we can't set it on the... Come to me a little bit. I gave it to you yesterday, right?
Yeah, it's in there. You know why he's doing that?
What's that?
That template.
We can reuse it over and over. These are all the same. long as we knock those.
Now that we have a perfect template, I can lay it out over on top of the gutter and pop the holes over here. That buzzing you hear is the hydraulic pumps for the elevator, which is in the room next door. And right here I'm cutting off all the melted conductors. Pretty much all the conductors are melted inside the 10 gang that was on top of those conduits right there.
You gotta use better.
Marker, so I can do the rest of these.
I'm putting I've got a half, and then I'm just like going to the front of it. Like that. So it's like I'm kind of slide the rest in half.
This wall has to be perfectly placed because it all has to bolt together back to the main breaker, and if one piece is just a little bit off, it won't fit.
One more bracket.
This one's
More
coming out,
two.
right?
Yeah, so you want to cut two more? Now you have to shade that down for both of these, about a quarter, almost a quarter of an inch. What's your measurement? Let me see. Let me see that. Alright, hold it. Like this.
As you can see, the rest of the gutter's installed, all the unit struts up, and we're wrapping up the second day. And now it's me and Bernard on the third day, and we're getting started on mounting the meter banks themselves on the wall. We still haven't received the new 5-gang meter banks in the mail yet. Hoping to get those pretty quick, but we do have an inspection tomorrow morning for the 2 4-gangs that we'll be installing today. So we better move pretty quick to make sure they're installed and ready for the inspection. Oh yeah, and it's Bernard's birthday. Happy birthday, Bernard. Funny story, it's also Caesar's birthday. Caesar's on a different job today, but true story, they got the same birthday. Happy birthday, Caesar.
That's alright, we'll deal with it later. Yep.
I'm putting this cardboard here just to make sure we don't bump the live side of this main breaker right here. I'm going to leave it closed as much as possible, but we got to do some work inside this cabinet. We're also going to lock it out just to make sure it accidentally doesn't get turned on while we're working here.
Keep your lock and key. Grab that.
Right here I'm unbolting the bus bar cap so I can clean the bus bar pack a little better and get ready to install the transition piece. I'm using a magic eraser sponge to do this right here. They work real well and they don't take off any metal. Just all the corrosion and soot that was on there is getting removed. Again, this is the transition piece. We're just prepping it so we can get it installed.
Here, let's just put them right back in the cup. Push that bus bar back in all the way.
The day before, I put a Tapcon right in the perfect spot for the top bracket. That way it was easy to hook it on and swing it in position.
Try to guide the...
And both of these Tapcons were measured perfectly and in just the right spot. And that arrow right there indicates the bus bar pack is fully engaged. The torque spec on that main bolt right there is between 70 and 80 pounds, so I put it at 72.5 pounds. One of my number one stresses leading up weeks while I was waiting for parts on this project was, would this main bolt right here hold up to the 70 to 80 pounds of torque required? And everything worked out pretty good in the end, but if I had to replace this switch, that would have been a nightmare and the customer would not want to see that bill. Because if you remember, between the 10 gang and the 8 gang, that bolt stripped when we were trying to loosen it. So this one could have easily stripped when we were trying to tighten it.
We could have probably gotten away without the spacer on that one too. Does this one work without the spacer or no?
No, try it without the space.
I think it stops.
Let's try the other one.
Let's see.
I ain't never tried it without.
Well, that one wouldn't fit without the spacer. Or you have the spacer
I
on.
have the spacer on that one.
Yeah, okay.
We're talking about the two different types of knockout sets we have on site. One requires a spacer. They both might actually require a spacer, but the one won't fit below in that tight little area right below the meters. I usually just use the spacer either way because if you don't, you can mess up certain types of knockouts. And let me tell you, they're not cheap.
You gotta move it to where it goes. I can't really move much. You wanna screw that? Oh, that wonderful fucking bitch, dude. You good leader.
Yeah, I just cut myself pretty good.
Paper towel.
Yeah, that's a lot of paper towels.
That's the little haggler that snuck me. Didn't see it.
I was unscrewing this and whoot, got me. Thing is sharp.
Nasty. Got me. I wonder what my last tetanus shot was. It probably doesn't matter. Now that we're confirming our measurements and we knocked out both sides, the bottom of the meter bank and the top of the gutter, we can get this thing seated right on top.
Turn your way out. Let's try to get it into gear first.
Perfect fit. At this point, it's pretty clear what the transition piece does. It goes between these two different types of bus bar.
Good.
A couple love taps and a little bit of persuasion was required here, but they're real gentle, and I'm using a wooden block.
Where did the bolts go for this here?
Don't forget your bushings, folks. It's always a pain once the wire's inside to get those bushings on.
What's that now?
Yeah, they make split bushings, but they never got them on the truck when you need them.
Well, I gotta go way down, all the way down, just like I said on that one. Because it's 14, it goes from like here to here.
A couple of the Unistrut cross brackets were in our way to get this corner piece in. We'll slide them back into position once we get the corner piece mounted, and they can go right back where they
This
were.
will lighten it up a good 20 pounds probably.
Yeah, that corner piece is real heavy, but taking the doors off makes it a little bit better.
Well, we should get it up there and then put the screw out. We're not gonna be able to get it in and turn it in.
Yeah, I intentionally left the Tapcon out of the wall. I did drill the hole, but we wouldn't be able to turn it into position if the Tapcon was in
Wait a minute,
place.
back out a little. Okay, you turn it in, push it in. Let me get the hammer. I got it this one. Should be able to hold it from there pretty good. Got it?
The delivery receipt said this thing weighed like 90 pounds, so with the doors off and the packaging, we're probably holding up about 70 pounds in a pretty awkward angle.
Move it all when you lay it down. That's great though.
Now that I've confirmed everything's level and plumb, we're going to do the Tapcons and fully bolt everything home. And we can slide those Unistrut cross brackets back in place and bolt them down. The cross bracket I'm bolting in now is what holds the mounting rail for the remaining 4 gang and the 2 5 gangs that aren't on site yet. Once I'm done knocking out the 2-inch holes for the 2-inch nipples that Bernard is mounting on the bottom of the 4 gang, we can pick it right up and slam it right in position.
Is it in? Yeah, bus bars, it's in?
That one went in quite a bit easier.
Pretty dang good.
It's like, look, this is, that's what I was looking at.
Once Bernard finishes putting on the end cap there and I bolt them together, we can start tightening down the bolts on all the bus bars. I find it's better to wait till you have as many of the meter banks in as you're going to put in, because you don't want to unbolt those bus bar bolts. And you might have coming across an issue with fitment and you have to take it back apart, and you definitely, like I said, don't want to have to unbolt those bus bar bolts. Those are a one and done type deal. You definitely don't want to do them twice. Mainly because they're snap bolts, and once you tighten them to the right pressure, they snap like this. You can remove and replace them, but it's best if you don't. One other pro tip, make sure you count the busted nuts after you're done, because if you miss one, it's a problem. We have another power release inspection tomorrow morning to release these 8 meters I just installed, so we want to make sure that everything's groovy with them and there's no shorts, so I check continuity on all the legs, make sure we're ready for the inspection. The inspector won't actually check this, so there could be a short, like if a bolt falls down and hits a bus bar or something. So we want to make sure that's not the case before the power release and FPL energizes it.
Bingo, bingo.
Now we're going to put clear acrylic meter blanks in each one of the 8 spaces until FPL comes and puts their meter. This way it can be energized and nobody can touch something if they get in the room somehow.
What's that?
Right here, big bottle.
This top mounting bracket was giving us fits. We ended up getting it though, but it was a little bit bent from the shipping, I think, or something. It didn't want to sit flat against the unistrut, and it's a thick little piece of stainless steel. But like I said, we got it. So like I said, we're just closing everything up in preparation for the power release inspection tomorrow. Now, some of you may have noticed we need to run the conductors up inside the 2-4 gangs right here and install the main breakers, but that'll give us something to do in the early morning while we wait for the inspector. I usually try to leave something small like that to do the next morning, so we're not just sitting around for doing absolutely nothing in anticipation of the inspector. It usually makes for a comfortable, laid-back morning where you're not just sitting around doing absolutely nothing, and it helps time pass a little bit while you wait for the inspector. Here we are the next day. It's early morning. We're getting the 1/0 conductors through the 2-inch nipples up inside the meter bank so we can land them on the main breakers. Each main breaker we'll be installing is 125 amp square D QO, and coming into the building is 3-phase 12208Y, but each unit only gets 2 of those legs, making a single phase.
Long enough or no?
What's all of them now?
Yeah, I was just thinking, well, that, I don't know, leave it down. Which one, where does this one go?
This one's at the top. That's the top.
This might even be short, because is this one longer? We got any more room down there?
Yeah, look. Yeah, look.
Yeah, probably. Yes, okay, that's good. Alright.
Bernard's just prepping the last 125 amp square D QO main breaker. I'm actually installing it, taking the glory. Now it's time to land the conductors, and it's aluminum, so make sure you use no locks.
That way, I'll delete all the other footage and it'll look like I did all this. You know what I'm saying?
I got you. You see the papers with some numbers?
We do torque every single lug in all these banks, but first we go around and use a screwdriver to just snug them up. So essentially, every lug gets checked at least 3 times, and the last one's with a torque wrench. Loose connections are the #1 cause for failure, so this helps prevent that. Even if you miss a lug on one of those passes, it still got double checked. Right there, I was just removing one of the labels we put on initially when we were labeling everything. I try to remove as much combustible materials from inside the cabinets as possible. This is the final step for these two cabinets, is these 4 number 6 grounds. Once those are done, these cabinets are completely finished. I did neaten those up a little bit so they didn't end up looking like that. Now we're going to close up the gutter so that when the inspector gets here, it's all nice, clean, and pretty. There'll be a final cleaning, but I like to clean the inside and the outside of the gutter as I'm assembling it. And again, we're still kind of killing time until the inspector arrives.
I told them to send somebody to help you in here, but if they're not going to be here till Monday, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to do.
I was just talking to Bernard about cleaning the actual meter room because I wanted to have it spick and span before FPL got there so there was no obstructions when they were installing the meters. But this was Friday, so if they're not going to be on site till Monday, we don't have to rush to get it cleaned up.
One of these little screws. Okay. I need 2 more.
The inspector's about to pull up, timing was perfect, and we're just putting on the last section of gutter cover. The inspector just left. We passed the power release inspection for these 8 meters. I'm just confirming that all the 125 amp main breakers are in the off position. I'm sure Florida Power and Light will double check, but I want to make sure they're off. It's Monday morning. All the meters have been installed. I'm checking with the thermal. Everything's coming out perfectly. Checking with the thermal is just an extra precaution to make sure there's no loose connections and no bus bars are going to overheat. And our labeling to each condo is accurate, even though we had to guess on a couple because the condo numbers were burned away. I'm a little frustrated because I'm still waiting on the 2 5-gang so we can install those. It's super frustrating. We were sent the wrong ringless 5-gangs. Obviously, you saw it early in the video. It's now Tuesday morning. The 2 5-gangs have arrived, and we're going to be installing those today.
Anyway, you know what I mean?
I had to modify the template just a little bit to get these 2 2-inch nipples on the last 5-gang. Next, we're peeling off sets of feeders to go to the 5-gangs because each one of the feeders is no longer long enough that came from the original meter banks. Most of them were melted, but this is 1/0 aluminum that we're peeling off. This 5-gang goes in like the last 4-gang, easy peasy. The 5-gang and the 4-gang aren't fully seated together yet, but if I can get a couple of the mounting bolts on, it helps with that process. Along with a few very gentle taps with a hammer and a wooden block.
I was fucking so tired. I meant to say, we installed 2 meters, and I said we installed 2 gutters. I was like, nah.
2 gutters. Oh. Yeah, I think, yeah.
When they hear it, they're like, yeah, I'm sure.
Bernard was talking about a work order where he put the wrong thing. Bernard's removing all the ringless meter covers so we can access the breakaway nuts on the bus bars that are behind there.
You brought these in the truck, huh?
Yeah. In the back of the truck. And it started raining too.
It was raining?
It rained on the way here. Not bad, but like, I was like, oh man.
Usually we put something like this in one of the vans and not in the back of a truck. That's what Bernard was talking about. But I had a tarp on them and it didn't rain too bad. That one went in the easiest out of all of them. It pretty much just fell right into position.
You have to put them in the cap of the one.
Yeah, we put it in this cap.
Cap, yeah.
I'll do
Stop the
cap.
Right?
Yeah.
We're looking for all the breakaway nuts that were in that blue cap from the other day. We want to make sure we keep them together to keep a proper count.
On this one, yeah.
It took forever to find that breakaway nut that played plinko and bounced around back inside the guts. That's part of the reason why we count them all up, because we don't want to lose one back in there or forget to tighten one, and then if we lose one back in there and it touches something it's going to short out on, that'll be a problem. But we found it and got it out. Same process again here, put all the clear blanks in so we're ready for inspection on the 2.5 gangs. Power release inspection, that is. We're putting these 3 meters back that we had to pull out in order to access the breakaway nuts behind them.
You like it? It was good? What? Chick-fil-A thing. Two-pack. I don't like the regular chicken because it's dry. Oh, honey. You can't believe when I was in Chipotle, I thought about that. Man, I know my dog ain't eat. I'm gonna get one and we're gonna splice it.
It's the end of the day. Bernard and Victor are just landing the last of these 1/0 conductors so we can be ready for the power release inspection in the morning. And it's the morning, folks. 1 or 2 more sets of conductors to land and close up the gutters and meter bank covers, and we're ready for the inspector. Not much to do this time around, but sit and wait for the inspector. Maybe clean up a little bit. Oh yeah, one thing I could do is deburr these gutters. I've been meaning to do that. They're like little razor blades waiting to catch people's ankles. Bernard just saw the inspector pull up, so he'll be walking in any second. And as I'm sure you guessed, we passed with flying colors. The inspector was very pleased with what he saw. Now we just have to get the meters installed, double check all our labeling, get some other new labeling and boss labeling put up, and we can get a final inspection. Bernard's taking a few minutes to vacuum up and clean up, getting ready for FPL to show up and put in the last few meters. Now FPL's come out and installed the last 10 meters. We can get them energized, get the customers all back up and running throughout the entire building. But there's still quite a few details we need to finish up before final inspection. One is we got to make sure this gutter is properly grounded. That's what Bernard's working on here. We're just going to be able to put a lug right on the end cap. We kind of set it up that way. We ended our gutter right at a 4/0 ground that we can just use an open jaw lug and put it right on there. Bernard's drilling a hole in the end of the gutter so we can through bolt it with a 1/4-20 nut and bolt. And that's what it looks like. Now that all 18 new meters are installed and we're under full load because everything was just kicked back on, Bernard's going to do another thermal imaging scan and make sure nothing's heating up and everything's functioning properly. It's the next morning. We're waiting on the inspector to do the actual final inspection. So we're putting on all the last finishing touches, the end caps of the unistrut, and the embossed labels that are required for each apartment. Right here, Caesar's using the embossing labeler to create labels for each condo that have raised numbers. So in case somebody ever paints this, it doesn't cover up the numbers. Man, I hope they don't paint this though, because that would be a tragedy. As part of the final inspection, the inspector wanted us to torque all the line side feeders of the 1200 amp breaker coming in.
You won't believe what it'll take off. You ever get stuff you can't get off your hands? Like
foam.
magic. How's that still on? Oh, they only got one leg out. Yep, now it's off.
Okay, so.
Yep.
Floor power and light came out and de-energized the secondary at the transformer so we could do this. All inspections are 100% complete and finalized. Power's back on. The buzzing you're about to hear is the elevator.
The elevator's on one of those services. And then this light is also on that service.
Whenever I'm actuating a large switch like this, even a smaller one, I try to remove all load when I'm turning it on or off. So all the 125 amp main breakers are off right now. We're turning them back on after I turn the 1200 amp switch back on.
This looks beautiful, bro. Like, from the marking to the, bro, they just gotta do this whole place like that. Say, screw it. I'm so for real. I love Sudo.
This is the first time in about 3 weeks that this whole building, every condo had power. It's a pretty good feeling, and the customers are all super happy. Right here, I'm putting an arc flash warning label on this 1200 amp main breaker.
Oh, see, you put the cap. This was the
Oh,
cap.
yeah, sign the
trying to
paper.
put on
Yeah. You just signed the paper, the permit card. You still out there? Yeah, if you can run it up here.
One last thing we had to do is replace these two 8-foot light fixtures. The firemen blasted them with their hoses. They were actually the first thing I ordered. I wanted nice new lights in here while we worked, but they took longer than everything else to come in. Now we got them installed, and they look great. And it's the final cleanup, which is always a fun time, not too much stress, pretty laid back, and when you're done, it looks real nice and clean. And it's time to send these two 5-gang ring-type meter banks back to the supplier who sent them to us, and they were the wrong ones. Even the backside of this meter bank looks pretty sharp. Caesar's doing a bang-up job, cleaning up and vacuuming one more time. I can't say I blame him, because if this is cleaned up properly, it should stay clean for years to come.
All right. We're just wrapping it up over here. We got all 18 new meters installed. Maybe one of these days we'll get some of these other ones replaced. But for now, we got this situation done. It came out real nice. We've done a thermal imaging scan on all of it. But thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.